So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today, we're going to talk about a couple things that are going down with respect to back wages and back pay. It's pretty interesting. This article comes from Fiona Ong. She is out of Shaw and Rosenthal. It's a law firm. And I talked briefly about what was going on in Leafland and the fact that a company used time tracking software to track an employee and realize that they were conducting time theft. And all of that came from the fact that the employee sued the employer. And as a result, the employer countersued. And that, like I said, that was out of Canada. But we're going to dig into some craziness happening south of the border here in the United States. So let's get into it. Let's get going. The first case we're going to talk about is this interesting one. It's Larson Latham Huetti versus Iverson. And in this case, a law firm required associates to sign an employment agreement that said that if an employee doesn't bill out their quota, if it's less than their quota, then their salary will be reduced. So basically, if they don't work enough hours, billable hours from a law firm, that their pay will be deducted and it will be considered to be a debt owed at termination of employment. And when they quit, the law firm made them pay it back. It's not much more deep than that. $35,000. And when the associate refused to pay him and the firm sued him, the Supreme Court held it up. So the associate paid over $35,000 because they weren't working the appropriate amount of hours. Um, and apparently the firm didn't even allow the person to work enough, which prevented them from meeting the hours requirement. But because they had the agreement in place, they had to do it, and it was obviously one sided, but it was upheld by the North Dakota Supreme Court. And the author here, Fiona Ong, is pretty surprised, and I am too. I think that an agreement of this nature, I'm assuming that they met minimum wage requirements, and we're going to be talking about that in a bit because that's a really important piece to this puzzle. The next one up is out of Colony, New York, and there police sergeants were charged with theft of time, but they actually paid it back from their vacation hours, which is a little bit strange. I actually don't know that this is time theft, or sorry, repayment of time theft, because outside of a union, which there was a union here, hours aren't required to be paid. So, I'm not sure that they're paying back time theft, but regardless, the officers paid it back through the use of their vacation. And in addition, the city did not pursue criminal theft charges, which is quite interesting. Actually, quite difficult to charge someone theft, meaning to charge them with the police. It's difficult to have that level of evidence, but it is absolutely possible to have employees pay it back. Most companies never do. Usually, it's not a significant amount enough to even get to that point. And one thing that most people don't ever think about when this happens is the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 in the United States, which requires employers for the most part to pay minimum wage. There are exemptions from that, but and so when you are clawing back money, you actually cannot take below minimum wage. And even very qualified and skilled HR people will make that mistake. Now, frankly, most employees don't know that that is illegal to claw back below minimum wage, and so they'll let it slide. Uh, but I've seen it happen, I think, 3 times, and we had to pay the person back and then slowly withdraw the money, not for stealing time, but for paying back benefits and things like that. And it's really interesting that most people aren't really aware of these intricacies of American law. So what do you think about this? What do you think about employers?
What do you think about
clawing back?
today's video?
Leave a comment
Please,
down below and
comment
let me
down
know what
below.
you think. And
Like,
as always,
share, and
please like,
subscribe.
share,
It
and
really
subscribe,
helps
and we'll
out.
see you
And
on
I'll
the
see you on the next
video.
one.
Bye, guys.